You see it. It's there, ladies and gentlemen. Your first ever, I had to adjust which camera I was going to. Your first ever live and in-person Straub Bros sports show coming to you live from the living room. Champions up. Champions up. We're ready to go, bro.
I can do this, baby.
Let's go, baby. Welcome in. As you see, we're here together. We're here live, okay? As you all know what time it is, it's time for the Straub Bros Sports Show. We're going to take you around the country like we always do, but no soccer, okay? No distractions. You know what today is. It's the biggest day in college football. It is rivalry week, okay? The game, the Iron Bowl. We're here for it all. For the next 2 hours, okay, we're going to give you your full college football preview review, okay? And because this is what we do, coming up at the end of the live, when we talk about the game, Ohio State, Michigan, 4th and 15 zone, and 216 Sports Network CEO Mel will join us and be our celebrity guest picker and talk Ohio State, Michigan with us as well, right?
Yes, sir. I'm locked in.
Let's absolutely do it. Now, what are we going to talk about today? Everything that you want to talk about. We're going to talk about Florida, Florida State. We're going to talk about Washington and Washington State, Iowa State and Kansas State, Kentucky, Louisville, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Carolina, and of course, the Iron Bowl and the game. Now, before we do that, let's start with the most fun that me and this dude have been able to have together since we started doing this. And that would be, we got to cover the Akron game yesterday. Now, if you weren't there, Strabo is going to add some highlights in for us as we go. Akron lost to Ohio 25-14 behind 394 yards. But the biggest part of the game was Akron going up 14-3. And then Ohio scoring 22 unanswered points. But let's break it down further. As you see on the screen, Lorenzo Lingard, 43-yard touchdown pass from Taj Bullock. Absolutely. Another 5-yard touchdown run from Taj. Curtis Rourke, a 4-yard touchdown run for Ohio. Rourke to Walton for a 2-point conversion, as you will also see displaying across. Talk to me a little bit about this game, bro. We were there on the sidelines. As you see these highlights, these are exclusive highlights from the 216 Sports Network, the Straub Bros Sports Show, and Rico McGee. Shout out to Rico. He was there with us. Got a lot of good footage from him, too. We've been kind of sharing it back and forth along the way. Drew, talk to me about this game.
Yeah, listen, this was an amazing experience in general. But if we're just talking about the game,
hi, mama.
As you can see, you're seeing the second half highlights here. It's all Ohio. Ohio adjusted. Akron thought they were going to rest on their morals and just couldn't get anything going in the second half. 155 out of the 183 yards that Akron got was in the first half. And then in the second half, we're outgained 206-28 in the second half.
Sorry, I was checking our audio.
All good. And I think this shows Akron's poor record. They unfortunately aren't able to adjust. And the same thing happened against Eastern Michigan and Temple, where they went out to big leads and just couldn't hold them because they weren't able to adjust to what the offense was giving them in the second half.
I 100% agree. We were there. Shout out. She's here with us. She woke up from the slumber. It was very clear that Akron came out to play at the beginning of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Ohio ran the ball very, very well early on, and then they never let up, and they kept going, and they kept going, and they kept going, and eventually they absolutely beat up on Akron towards the end of the game, and that ended up really being kind of the deciding factor. You know, we watched it, guys were tired, guys' hands on the hips. You could see it. They were physically tired, and Ohio kind of beat them up. But so awesome experience, though. Seriously, shout out to the University of Akron for having the Strabos in. Shout out to Rico for opening that relationship and kind of getting us going with Akron. So we really appreciate it. It was a great time to be up in the press box, take this guy up there with me for the first time. Like I said, me and this guy have gone to games our entire life, and every time there's been a ticket where somebody goes, okay, you're up there, and to kind of have the path where everybody just goes, yeah, you're right here. Yeah, you're right here. Yeah, you're right here. It was really cool. It was really fun. It was absolutely a great time. But that's not it. We can't just talk about Akron. There were plenty of games that went on Thursday and Friday, and we're going to take you through some of them. Let's start with Thursday night, my guy. Number 12, Ole Miss took on Mississippi State. Ole Miss wins 17-7. The battle for the Golden Egg sees Ole Miss score way less than we're normally accustomed to and way less than we thought they would.
Yeah.
But they still took care of business behind 119 rushing yards and 1 touchdown from Quashawn Johnson. The road team has won 6 of the last Golden Egg matchups. A little bit about that one real quick.
Yeah, like you said, a really surprising low-scoring game for Ole Miss. Their lowest since week 4 against Alabama, and we obviously can see why they were low-scoring there. But honestly, the defense stepped up surprisingly and really shut out this Mississippi State offense in a really hostile environment on the road. You know, Mississippi State has those cowbells that they jingle all the time, and it gets really annoying, honestly, if you're watching at home. But they were able to move past it. They were able to just settle down, get it going in the second half, and really just stop anything that Mississippi State was trying to do. And credit to Ole Miss, because that's not something that we see from them very often.
Absolutely. There could have been a big letdown this week. There absolutely could have been a big letdown from Ole Miss, and they did it, and they took care of business. And that's exactly what it goes. All right, let's keep it rolling, bro. Our new favorite team. I know this is a Notre Dame jersey. It is Irish, but it looks like these colors, so we're going to talk about them. The Oregon Ducks over my Oregon State Beavers, 31-7. Dude, Oregon moved the ball early. Oregon moved the ball in the middle. Oregon moved the ball late. Oregon moved the ball. No answer from my Beavers.
No, listen, Oregon, you knew Oregon was going to come out. 31 points is honestly a little low for them. But honestly, it was some of the mistakes of DJ and
DJU.
Yes, and the defense of Oregon just swarming. Those defensive ends were pressuring him the entire night, absolutely causing havoc. And 2 interceptions, if I remember correctly, and just could not get anything going offensively. And listen, 31 points isn't bad for Oregon State to let up, but scoring 7 is where you got to go wrong there.
Do you want to play Oregon?
No.
I don't want to play Oregon. No. I want no smoke with Oregon. Oregon, nobody want no smoke with you right now, okay? Hey, a team we've kind of been critical of. Penn State, 42-0 over Michigan State. Now, Michigan State is dealing with a lot right now. More scandals. Read an article this week where apparently Michigan State wanted to fire Mel Tucker at the beginning of the year when they found out some of the incidents that were happening, because it is fireable to have any kind of relationship with a vendor. Apparently, the people above him would not let the AD fire Mel Tucker, as Michigan State just kind of continues to be a dumpster fire full of garbage truck juice. It really is. They've already cleaned this place out once. I don't want to say they need to clean it out again, but I don't know how you fix this. But back onto the field, Penn State took care of Michigan State. Drew Aller, 292, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, hammered a Spartans team already reeling. Anything else?
No, listen, this is what Penn State does. You know, they beat up on the smaller teams that, you know, maybe are a little under them, and they just got to find the next step and, you know, competing in the bigger games next year.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a new offensive coordinator. They have a quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, Penn State, it's time to put it together. It really is. You want to be a part. You want to be a national player. You want to be a player in the Big Ten, which is now adding UCLA. It's now adding Washington. It's now adding USC. Like, do you want to be a player? You want to be a player? Show us. All right, let's run through some quick ones. Here, we're going to throw it up. All right. Oh, maybe not. There we go. Let's run through some quick ones, my guy. Miami, 45. Boston College, 20. Van Dyke, 290. 2 touchdowns. The U is back, baby. No. Memphis, 45. Temple, 21. A team you're very familiar with in Memphis. Took care of business. An overtime game we got Friday night. Utah State, New Mexico, 44-41 in overtime. Utah State takes care of business. Oof. We like to talk about our service academies. This is not a good one. Boise State took it to Air Force, 27-19, 409 yards to 337. Boise State, Air Force, very started rolling, and then has taken a nose dive. Man, plane jokes. That's not fun. Missouri, number 9, 48-14, 41 unanswered points for our Missouri Tigers as they roll Arkansas. Arkansas head back to the drawing board. We will see you next year. Missouri shows I think they're going to be back next year too. I
hope so.
This is a top 10 ranked Missouri team coming into next year. Put that on there. I'm saying that now, and I think this can kind of rolls and continues. One of our other buddies, Tulane, number 23, 29 over UTSA, 16, 29 to 16 over UTSA. Tulane takes care of business. My favorite. Number 17, Iowa, 13, Nebraska, 10. 257 total yards for Iowa. Look at them boys. Look at them go. And the underhit. What a surprise. What a surprise.
Always.
The Iowa underhit. And our last one we will talk about a little bit. Oklahoma. Number 12, Oklahoma beat up on TCU 69 to 45. Our boy, Dylan Gabriel, came back from his injury. 400 yards, 3 tutties. I mean, come on. All right. Galvin Sawchuk, 22 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Little Stoops, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Man, talk to me about Oklahoma deciding to play good when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, listen, man. 1,100 total yards for both teams, 114 total points. Basically, the exact opposite of an Iowa game.
I agree.
So you're looking at it, but if you look into the score box, right, there's this massive blip in the second quarter from TCU where they get outscored 28-3 in the second quarter. That's when the game blows wide open. But if you look at the other 3 quarters, they actually beat Oklahoma 42-41 in the other 3 quarters. So the tale of the story was just that second quarter where Dylan Gabriel and that Oklahoma offense just went off and completely shut out TCU. And they never looked back from there. And that's your big thing. And honestly, I'm really glad that Dylan Gabriel's injury didn't affect him. We said about it last week. We wanted to make sure that he was okay. He looks fine to me, if I'm being completely honest. And, maybe he can roll this in and put up a good performance in a bowl game and maybe, get some looks in the NFL.
Absolutely. Oklahoma's not done yet. I mean, they're done in terms of important games, but they're not done yet. And I like to see Dylan go off. Good luck to Champ Sport Bowl opponent they get because they're going to absolutely run through. All right, that's our games that happened. So let's get to the good stuff, baby.
Yes.
Let's talk about today's rivalry slate here in college football. Let's start with game number 1. Iowa State travels to number 19, Kansas State. Kansas State opens as 10-point favorites. Honestly, Wildcats should take care of business easily, unless they want to play comeback kings again, which they've been doing week in and week out. But that's what the Cyclones kind of want to do too, because they've been getting down and they've been coming behind. I kind of like Kansas State. I kind of like Kansas State to cover. But talk to me about this game, bro.
No, yeah, listen, Kansas State has had moments where they look like a top 10 team. Their defense is absolutely legit. Their offense can hang with pretty much anyone inside the top 15. And that's what we expect from them. That's what we want them to look like. But those other 3 losses, they have looked very disappointing at times where the offense just can't seem to get it going and they leave the defense out to dry a lot. However, if you look on the opposite of the ball, a very much more up and down team is Iowa State, where they've had very, very competitive games against Oklahoma, Texas, those big opponents, but they haven't been able to kind of get over the hump there and haven't been able to really establish themselves as a top program in the Big 12. So if you're looking at it, Kansas State's a heavy favorite, and I think for a good reason. That defense, I think, is going to cause havoc all night long for Iowa State, and I think it's going to be a very tough battle for Iowa State to really get momentum going into this game.
I agree. 45.5 is the over-under. I don't like it. I don't want to play with it. Like you heard what he said. I'm going to probably leave that one alone, to be honest with you. But for everything that you said, Iowa State has kind of stumbled and not been there. Kansas State can be a great team that wins the Big 12 and then comes in next year and lose 4 games. So all over the place for both of these teams. I think this game will be a little bit all over the place. Let's move on. Number 25. Welcome to the top 25. Liberty at UTEP. Liberty looking to wrap up its first perfect season. And of course, that means they're on upset alert this week.
Of course.
100%. They could become the first team in the state of Virginia to win 12 games in a season. And when you're talking about Virginia and Virginia Tech, that's some big news. Liberty, they've beaten up on my Bowling Green Falcons. They beat up on Buffalo, Western Kentucky. And I think they might keep it rolling today. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. This Liberty offense is great, even if you consider the opponents they've played. They have 40 points per game, which is 5th in the nation. They have 500 yards per game, which is 4th in the nation. And they have the number 1 rushing offense at 282 rushing yards per game. Listen, it's insane. This rushing attack is led by junior running back Quentin Cooley, who has 1,168 yards on the season and 10 touchdowns. But their quarterback ain't no slouch either. Caden Salter, there it is, 823 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. So this rushing attack is absolutely key for them. On the other side, UTEP coming off some close losses to Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky. They give up about 192 rushing yards per game. It's a little concerning for me. So if Liberty gets the running game going, I think they're going to be very dangerous and they're going to be very hard to stop going down.
I do. I agree with everything you just said. I like the 16.5 that Liberty is supposed to cover, and I like the 56.5 over. I think Liberty beats this up. I think Liberty takes care of business. I think they kind of do the opposite of what James Madison did. Sorry, James Madison, shout out to you, but you had game day there. You were going nuts, and then you blew it to App State. I don't think Liberty does that. I think Liberty takes care of business. Liberty. Yeah, we'll leave that alone. Our next one, BYU at Oklahoma State, number 21, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is also 16.5 point favorites. The non-holy Oklahoma War, because BYU already played the Holy War and Oklahoma State already played Oklahoma. Okay, yeah, rivalry week. Sure. Sometimes these don't make any sense, but that's okay. Ollie Gordon II. Okay. 2 tutties, 150 yards. Put it down. I like Oklahoma State here. Big, but BYU will score. Okay. BYU is going to score. Okay. I absolutely. The 16.5, I don't like because of that. I think BYU can get on the board. 56.5 is the over-under. I think I don't think that's something to flirt with. Talk to me about our Cougars, our BYU Cougars.
Listen, what's with all these non-rivalry games, man? It's just lame. It's lame.
It's supposed to be rivalry week, but unfortunately, Oklahoma State have already played. BYU and Utah have already played.
Iowa State have already played. Like
Notre Dame played Stanford, or Notre Dame played USC earlier in the year. It's weird. Rivalry week should be for the rivals, and that's that. But talk to me more.
BYU. All right, I'm going to talk to you directly. I said I wouldn't talk about your game or games anymore. So I won't mention that you've lost 4 straight with an average margin of defeat of 25 in those games. I won't talk about that. I also won't mention that you gave up 187 rushing yards per game, which is 120th in the country.
He's not going to talk about that.
And are facing one of, if not the best running back in college football, in Ollie Gordon II. Not going to talk about it. So I won't get on that. I won't get on that at all. All I'm going to say is good luck, BYU. I think you're in for a long day ahead, but all props to you. Let's see what you can do.
Hey, I agree. I like it. All right. Our next one, Vanderbilt at number 21, Tennessee. Tennessee opened up 27.5 point favorites, ladies and gentlemen. That is ridiculous. Okay. An historic rivalry, even though none of us think Vandy is like that. And I get that. You're Vanderbilt and you're like, is it basketball season?
It's a baseball.
Is it baseball season? Are we out of here? No, but listen, I know you don't always think of Tennessee in that light, but 16, 17, and 18, a Vandy 3P. Okay. They started with beating a ranked Tennessee team. Okay. Why the hell not? Okay. 30 points a game for Tennessee. Vandy gives up more than that every game. Okay. Tell me how Vandy can do it.
I don't think they can, if I'm being completely honest. Listen, Tennessee have won the last 4 meetings, and they've outscored the Commanders 171-48 in those games. Really, really tough.
What?
Yeah, it's not great. Listen, Vanderbilt has always been a baseball school. They've been somewhat of a basketball school lately. Props to them. And I think we always kind of root for Vandy a little just because, they don't win a lot. So if they get a big upset, it's always really cool to watch. But I like Tennessee a lot, and I think the spread, they're going to cover more than the spread just due to previous examples, if I'm being completely honest.
I like Tennessee to cover, and I like the over of 56.5. I think Tennessee might put up 48 themselves. So I think we've got a nice easy one there. Let's keep going. Sorry, I'm playing with stuff, and I'm doing it on his computer, and it's just completely just thrown everything to absolute heck. Okay, Arizona at Arizona State. Battle of Arizonas. Arizona Wildcats open as 10.5-point favorites as they meet Arizona State for the 97th time. Now we're in rivalry week, real rivals. Okay, I gotta keep sitting up. This dude's too tall. Okay,
I'll slouch a little
trying
bit.
to match heights over here. Okay, the Wildcats from 2020 to 2021 were 1-15, my guy. We're 1-15. This year, no. Okay. Wins over a ranked Oregon State team, a ranked UCLA team at the time, and a ranked Utah team. Okay. These are not your grandfather's Wildcats. Okay. Much improved. They came off of a beatdown of Oregon. Who the hell doesn't get beat down by Oregon right now? Okay. They pretty much beat up on everybody. But Arizona brings a 25-year best 5-game Pac-12 win streak into this game. Redshirt freshman Noah Fafita, 3 wins in a row. Okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Looking to lead Arizona over a 3-win Arizona State team. Okay. Who is going to look to spoil any good momentum that Arizona has had. Talk to me.
Yeah, listen, Arizona, I think, is undoubtedly one of the stories of the season. They're 8-3 right now when everyone was predicting them to go about 500, even a little under. And standout freshman Noah Fafita was not even supposed to start this season. He is 22 yards away from a 2,000 passing yard season and is, I got the stat here, 2 touchdowns away from a 20 touchdown season.
Come on.
Absolute amazing story. And then if we look on the other side, I will say Arizona State have won the 5 out of the last 6 meetings. However, Arizona won last year and do lead the series 50-45 with a tie in there. So Arizona State
we used to do those in college football.
Exactly. Arizona State having major injury issues, an already tough kind of rebuilding year. 2 teams in real opposite trajectories. I think Arizona should win convincingly here. What do you think?
Give me the Wildcats. You remember how I just told you that I think Missouri is going to be a top 10 ranked team? Arizona will go into next year a top 25 ranked team, and I think they're going to make some noise. I really like the Wildcats. I'm high on the Wildcats. They were only supposed to win 3 or 4 games this year. They're already bowl eligible. So yeah, I like the Wildcats here. I like them to keep rolling. Our next rivalry game. See, we're in it now. Okay, we're in it now. North Carolina at number 24, North Carolina State. The 113th meeting of the in-state rivals that started back in 1894, sometimes around where our dad was there. NC State winners of 2 in a row, but North Carolina opened up as 2.5-point favorites. A tale of 2 roads. North Carolina has lost 3 of 5, and NC State has won 4 in a row, passing it to you.
Yeah, listen, UNC has been dominating this series the entire time. They're 68-38. They have 6 ties, but like you said, Dad was watching those back in the late 1800s, so all the way down there. But it has been more even lately with NC State kind of having a little bit of more momentum. 6-4 in their last 10, 12-8 in their last 20 meetings, both 8-3. Love you, Dad. They're both 8-3, kind of 2 different teams. Maybe we'll get to that. NC State leaning on their defense, and then UNC leaning on their offense. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup to see which one overtakes the other. I think NC State is rolling and have great momentum. But I think when you have battles of offenses versus defenses, I like the offense more times than not. Give me North Carolina.
Ooh, our first disagreement. I like NC State, okay? I think North Carolina's checked out. They've given us 0 reason to actually believe that they're playing good football here as of lately, which means they're going to win and they're going to cover. But I like the over here. It's 55. I love this over here. I know North Carolina and North Carolina State that's not your high-powered offense in your mind, but I absolutely like this. Joey giving us some love because we're riding on Pop. Shout out to you, Joey. Got us up on the screen. We appreciate you. But yeah, I like NC State here. I do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like that over. Hammer these overs today. There's some good ones coming up. Teasing. Okay. Hey, bro. What you got next?
Oh, yeah. Listen, we got you.
Oh. Notre Dame. Yep. You see all this stuff in the background, and I'm adjusting my notes. That's why I'm all out of place today. Number 18, Notre Dame at Stanford. The Irish open as 25-point favorites, leading the all-time series 22-14. I know, not a big one, but okay. The Irish won 17 of the first 23 meetings in this rivalry. Stanford has won 8 of the last 13, including a big 16-14 upset last year. Excuse me. Now, Notre Dame has scored 58, 48, and 43 in 3 of their last game, and Stanford's defense has been in shambles. How is this a close game?
I mean, Stanford's at home. I could possibly see this being a closer game. Just I've seen a Notre Dame team sometimes play down to their competition. It's happened before. However, Stanford has allowed a combined 438 rushing yards in the past 2 games. And what does Notre Dame do the best? Run the football. So Notre Dame leans on their rushing attack. They get that defense to create some turnovers. I don't see a Stanford team getting any motivation if they get down early.
Said, give 7 the ball. Audric Estime is the key, as always, for the Irish. I like the Irish to rebound from last year's loss. I like them to beat up on Stanford, the battle of the non-Ivy League schools that are Ivy League schools. I think the Irish rebound, and I kind of want to touch this over. It's 49.5. Irish won big for me last week, covering or hitting the over for me as well. I think I like this 49.5. I'm not going to lie. We're going to have to touch on this one later. Our next game, Drew, what you got for me?
Yes, it is the Battle of South Carolina. Number 24, Clemson, traveling to South Carolina, 7:30 tonight. What do you think?
Clemson riding a 3-game winning streak and open as 7.5-point favorites. But the Gamecocks come in riding their own 3-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is shout out to our Uncle Kurt. He's a big, obviously we're big Notre Dame fans, but he loves him some South Carolina because he's down there. I don't know yet. 120th meeting of these two teams, my guy. Okay, Clemson holds a 72, 43, and 4 all-time streak. Or no, I'm sorry. I don't know what word I'm looking for there. All-time 72, 43, and 4. Clemson, South Carolina. This thing 1898. So Dad was there.
Definitely.
Cade Klubnik, Will Shipley, and Phil Moffitt look to run all over South Carolina. But, man, senior Spencer Rattler, who I think has been in college as long as Bo Nix, is a veteran, and he'll be ready.
Yeah. No, listen. Dabo has those boys rolling. It's their first college football playoff ranking this season.
Is the stock here?
Is it still low enough to buy?
Yeah.
Are we too high?
Are we priced out, Dabo?
We might be.
I brought my own bets today. I got plenty of those.
Look, and they're going to lean on that defense. It set the tone all year. 14 in opposing yards per game, 5th in opposing completion percentage. But they need to limit the turnovers. They are 15th worst with 20 turnovers. So that is a major key for them. But for looking on the South Carolina side, they're only giving up 16 points per game in that 3-game win streak that you talked about. Clemson, obviously, you said dominate the series, but South Carolina won last year's game without giving up any points in the 4th quarter. That's 0. This game is a lot closer, I think, than people realize. And I think I agree with you. I kind of like South Carolina. I'm not sure what I want to pick yet, but I'm on the fence here.
Come on over.
I'm leaning.
I think South Carolina, I think they upset Clemson. I really do. I think South Carolina upsets Clemson. Get off my lawn. Yeah, I see you, Dad. South Carolina, honestly, I probably would have taken the home team. I'm going to be honest. Regardless, if this was at Clemson, I probably would have taken Clemson. It's at South Carolina. I know that's in South Carolina both, but South Carolina at home. I absolutely like that. Just so everybody's aware, because I know you got multiple TVs going on. I know you got multiple screens. I know you're flipping back and forth. You might have us on the phone. So if you happen to be watching game day, the dude absolutely blew McAfee's kick. He absolutely lost it. So they're bringing in somebody else. But yeah, I like the Gamecocks. What you got for me next, bro?
I think it's time for our favorite segment.
Oh, baby. Is it Tiffin time?
It's Tiffin time.
It is Tiffin time. I gotta find you. Yes, there we are. Put it up, baby. You know what time it is. You want to handle that for me?
I got you. Keep
It
talking.
is Tiffin time. It is the second round of the D2 playoffs, and we're gonna talk about them, baby. Tiffin versus Slippery Rock. Yes, today at noon. Region 1, number 4 seed Slippery Rock travels to top-seeded Tiffin for the second round of the D2 playoffs. Like I just said, our cousin, Keegan, our Tiffin Dragons, host their first ever D2 playoff game. That is awesome, especially with the year that they've been having.
Yeah.
These two teams have only met once before. Okay? It was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Slippery Rock won that game 43-13, but I think it's fair to say that neither of those teams are obviously the teams that they are right now. Okay? Give some love. Sean Lutz of Slippery Rock in his 8th year as head coach there. He's been with the program for 25 years.
Wow.
5 trips to the NCAA playoffs. Chris Reiser, 5th year as Tiffin's head coach. 40-10, okay, over those 5 years in the midst of their best season in program history. The Dragons, they own the number 4 total offense in Division II, as well as the number 5 rushing offense and the number 6 scoring defense. Wow. Yeah, we're not just breaking down the D1 big games. We're breaking down the D2 big games too. Give me a little bit about this one, bro.
Listen, Tiffin has been absolutely insane all year. Their rushing attack is really, really good. Their defense just swarms and smothers offenses. Slippery Rock is going to be a very, very big challenge. It's a really unfamiliar opponent. They really don't know them as well as the games that they have played earlier in the year. And so I think it's one of those games where it's going to be very much a feeling out game early on in the game. But then later on, I think one team is just going to break out and just really take control of this game.
And I think it's going to be Tiffin. Tiffin does it a lot on the ground. Okay, they have a great rushing attack. I think they take care of business big today. Our guy Keegan, the quarterback, keeps it rolling. Our guy Keegan, our cousin, keeps it rolling. And I think the Dragons move on into the next round. There is no questions with Keegan this week. We absolutely left him off the hook. Right. Focus, locked in, doing the scouting, doing the signals, doing all his stuff. Absolutely. Don't even know if those guys are even able to check in right now because they are literally prepping and getting ready to go. We love you. We love you, Keeg. Shout out to Tiffin. Shout out to the Dragons. You will definitely be on one of the screen rotations today, and we will be watching that game big time. Big dog, what you got for me next?
We got the big games coming up now. 7-4 Texas A&M travel to number 14 LSU. Massive rivalry.
You are absolutely right. Look, this is just so disappointing how all over the place my notes are today. But you got me.
I'll grab it. Listen, I think this is Jaden Daniels' absolute last chance to prove his case for Heisman.
Absolutely. LSU, 13.5-point favorites. Okay. I don't know if that's enough. I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? LSU leads this series. It is an historic rivalry, 35-23-3. Yeah, we used to do ties back in college, okay? We did.
Dad remembers.
We did. Right. This is, like you just said, this is one of the best offenses in college football.
Yes.
Okay? They average 47 points a game and 219 yards on the ground. And like you said, and I'm going to throw it right back to you, Jane Daniels looking to increase his Heisman chances and run all over this reeling A&M team.
Yes, and this is basically his last chance. He's not going to play in a championship game. The Heisman decided before any bowl game starts. This is his chance to say, no matter what happens in the Oregon-Washington Conference Championship, I am better than both. And like you were saying, in those points per game, in that yards per game, yards per rush, yards per pass, they are number 1 in all of those categories. However, Texas A&M, no slouch either. Number 17 in points per game with 34 and get 400 yards per game. So this is going to be a high-scoring game, not just for LSU, but for both. A&M also have a decent defense, only giving up 291 yards per game. That's number 8 in the country. And they only give up 3 yards per rush, which is number 8 in the country as well. This is going to be a good game. Unfortunately, I think LSU's offense is way too powerful to be stopped by, a good defense, but not a great defense.
I don't understand how you could not have more love for A&M coming off of huge wins over Mississippi State and Abilene Christian. I mean, A&M is absolutely flying.
You're right.
Right
I'm
now,
sorry.
Okay, A&M is absolutely flying right now. Okay. I want to give Jane Daniels some more love because I don't think he gets enough. Number one, take Tiffin time down. Also, we have to fix the banner, bro. But that's okay. We'll worry about that in a second. He doesn't get Caleb Williams is the number 1 quarterback coming out if he comes out. Okay, and I've got no beef with that. Drake May at North Carolina, one of the top quarterbacks. I don't think he gets enough love. I don't think Jaden Daniels gets enough love. I think he's going to play on Sunday. I think he's a top prospect. I think and I understand that. I understand that he runs a lot. I understand that he's more mobile in terms of that. Careful, don't delete too much, my guy. But I don't think he's getting the love. I don't think he's getting the love in terms of national recognition for being a top prospect and a top quarterback coming out. I don't think he's getting the love he deserves. I think this kid is going to be really good. I think you're looking at a CJ Stroud type. Hey, this guy wasn't number 1, but man, is he bleeping good. I don't think anybody has reservations. I don't think people think Bryce Young is a bad quarterback, but damn, CJ Stroud looks good. You know what I mean? I think Caleb Williams is a top generational prospect, but damn, Jane Daniels is good, man. I don't think he gets enough love here. With saying all that, I mean, let's be honest. 13.5 is really nice. I'm rolling with it, and I'm rolling with them Tigers.
No, listen, I think I agree. And honestly, going to the Jane Daniels thing, I think it's one of those things that's really unfortunate. It's such a high-powered offense that all of the credit that Jane Daniels should receive is being dismissed by saying, oh, it's just a good offense. Oh, it's just a really, you know what I mean? He's getting help around. But if you look at it, he is probably the best dual threat quarterback in the country right now. Bo Nix is an amazing, accurate passer. Michael Penix Jr. is an amazing passer, just all around. But if we're looking at the most complete passer, rusher, Lamar Jackson type, I think we look at Jane Daniels in that same light because it was the same thing at Louisville for Lamar Jackson where he ran, he threw, he did everything. But because it was such a high-powered offense, they gave him such restricted praise until he finally got to the NFL and did the same exact thing.
Yes. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. That right there. No, I agree. Your Lamar Jackson, your Patrick Mahomes, your Joe Burrow. All these guys are mobile. All these guys can move. You've got to be able to move the sticks in the NFL, and you've got to be able to do it with your legs when you can't move him with your arm. And I think he's going to do that. I really do. And like I said, I like LSU big here, and I like LSU to cover.
Yes.
What do you got for me next?
Yes. What some people might say isn't a great rivalry just due to the kind of mixture of the teams. One really high, one sort of okay. Number 1 Georgia travels to 6-5 Georgia Tech, the team that has blown through everyone all season versus the upset specialists. What do you got for me?
The Bulldogs open as 24.5-point favorites. And just like I talked about with LSU, I'm not sure it's enough. Okay. Okay. The over is 59.5. I'm not sure it's enough. Okay. Drew, there's no way these Yellow Jackets are going to be able to play with these Bulldogs. Well, maybe. However, Georgia leads the overall series 70-39-5, okay, and have won the last 5 by 20 or more. Okay, I understand the Yellow Jackets are upset specialists, although one of those upsets really should not count because that Miami game was just given to them. But come on, man.
You want me to give it to you?
Come on.
All right. Georgia. They are number 6 in points per game. They are number 5 in yards per game. They are number 6 in passing yards per game. Heck, they're even number 1 in time of possession. They are dominant on offense. And you know what? That really doesn't bode well for Georgia Tech. 107th in opposing points per game, 123rd in opposing yards per game. And so they need a miracle to pull this off. But we have seen stranger things happen this season to this Georgia Tech team. I'm listing them off. 19.5-point underdogs against Miami. 12.5 underdogs against North Carolina. 1.5-point underdogs against Virginia. 3.5-point underdogs against Wake Forest. All wins. It's time to do it one more time, Yellow Jackets. Cause some chaos. I'm done.
This man is crazy. Okay. I kind of like it, though. You're absolutely right. We've seen stranger things happen. We haven't really had that big upset yet. You know what I mean? None of the top 8 have lost to a team that is also not in the top 8. Okay. Oregon's only lost to Washington. Alabama's only lost to Texas. Oh, I'm sorry.
Texas did have a bad loss.
Texas does have a bad loss. Of course you do, Texas. That's what you do. But other than Texas, all of those top teams, none of them we haven't had that big upset yet. We really haven't.
And you know what? Hey, honestly, Texas' only loss was to Oklahoma, which was a rivalry.
That's true.
So it's not even that bad.
Here we go giving Texas a bad loss. Texas doesn't have a bad loss. None of the top 8 have a bad loss. Georgia Tech. I think Georgia lets everybody know they're ready for the SEC championship game. Okay, that's what I think, and I kind of like Georgia to cover.
I just wanted to get fired up. All right, I needed to get fired up today.
I really like that. I like that. I like that in you, bro. Okay, I like that, but I like the points and I like the cover. But that's just me. All right, that is just me. What else do you got for me, my guy?
I will say a game that maybe would have had better implications if the tragic injury to Jordan Travis didn't happen last week, but I think it's still going to be a really good game. It's a primetime game on ESPN. Number 5, Florida State, still undefeated, travels to the Swamp to face 5-6 Florida. And the question on everyone's mind, how much of an impact do you have Jordan Travis being out will have on this team? Is it enough to lose on the road against a rival Florida team that played Mizzou to the wire last week? Now, let me give some on before you answer that question. Jordan Travis accounts for 48% of Florida State's touchdowns and 59% of the team's yards. Give it to me.
Okay, so money-wise, because, here on the Straub Bro Sports Show, we like to put our money where our mouth is. If he's healthy, I'm betting on Florida State. I'm betting on the over. I'm betting them to cover. I think after the little bit of slip-ups, I think they would have absolutely taken care of Florida today. He's not there. I'm not so sure now. The Tate Rodmaker game, that's what we're going to call this one, okay? The redshirt junior has been in head coach Mike Norvell's system since he's arrived, okay? He is not new to this at all whatsoever, okay? 56 for 93, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 22 appearances for Florida State. So like I said, this guy has played. It's also fair to point out, okay, that he has 2 comebacks, okay? One, obviously, last week against Northern Alabama when they went up 13-0.
Oh,
but also last year, they went down against Louisville 21-14, and he stormed them back, and he brought them back last year. So can Florida State get back in while everyone's winning out? I really don't think so. I think Florida State's going to need some help. I think they're going to need some stuff to happen. But I like Florida. I like the Chomp. I think the Gators can take advantage of a backup quarterback. I think Florida State is reeling. I think Florida State got punched in the mouth twice this week. Number one, by the committee when they got dropped, when they've done nothing but win. And I think they got punched when they obviously got punched in the gut when they lose their starting quarterback. And we brought it up before, but listen, man, you get healthy, okay? I know you've already announced that your Florida State career is done, and I'm happy to hear that. Get your bags, get healthy for the combine like we want you to, and we want to see you be. So, but I think I like Florida here. I think I like me some Gator.
Okay. Just to point out, Florida State has a 17-game win streak against Florida on the line here. Probably the closest one of them all in this matchup here. Now, listen, if Florida State pulls through with this good performance, the world will be watching that ACC championship game to see if they can pull it out. Because if they pull that game out, I don't see why they don't get back into the college football playoff.
I mean, that's a tough one for me. Well, it's not a tough one for me, I guess, in this sense. There's going to be spots open. Ohio State versus Michigan. We possibly have a Georgia-Alabama matchup. We possibly have a Oregon-Washington rematch. So we have spots that are going to open up. I think I agree with you that Florida State could win out and make it back in, but this is going to be tough, man. He's a game changer for a reason.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
And when you don't have a game changer on the field, it's going to be tough. It's going to be on those wide receivers. It's going to be on those running backs to make plays for their quarterback. But listen, I like Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell's been given a lot of credit this year for being a great coach. Go beat a 5-6 Florida team. You see it there on the screen. Go beat 5-6 Florida if you are a good quarterback or if you're a good coach, and get your team to the ACC championship game. Beat up on number 10 Louisville and get yourself back in. I mean, that's.
Speaking of,
you want to bring them in?
Speaking of the team, the rivalry in the state that I lived in for a little bit, Kentucky, 6-5, University of Kentucky traveled to number 10 Louisville. Massive basketball rivalry.
This is a huge basketball game.
But both teams have really brought their football programs to the forefront of college football, and this is a massive rivalry in football now as well.
This game started back in 1912.
Woo.
Okay, so this is no slouch.
That was middle-aged at the time.
But they've only played 25 times.
Oh wow.
Okay, you know what the MVP of this game gets? The Hauer Schnellenberger MVP trophy.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, all right, absolutely. We absolutely love that. The Wildcats lead the Cardinals all time, 19-15. Louisville, who sits 10th, really outside of all the college football playoff noise. Okay, I know they could upset Florida State and maybe jump a couple more spots, but they're looking for a major January bowl game regardless. Okay, so Louisville is, and they're there to be respected here. Over under is 50.5. Okay. I can see both sides of this because I can see a drag out, low scoring running the ball game, but I can also see two rivals just starting to go at each other and this thing get out of hand. I can see both teams running away with this game. I can see Kentucky coming out fired up and absolutely putting the Louisville Cardinals on upset alert like they've been a couple of times. And I can see if Louisville plays the game that they played against Notre Dame, the game everybody plays against Notre Dame, they will beat up on Kentucky, okay? They will get physical. They will control the line of scrimmage, and they will beat up. I think I like Louisville -7 here.
Okay. Listen, Kentucky has dominated these previous games. The last 5, they're 4-1. They have a plus 95 point differential in those games. Absolutely dominant. But they've kind of been lackluster this year. They had a 5-1. They were a really hot start, and then they've lost 4 of the last 5. And Louisville really only have one bad loss to Pitt, but then there's no other losses on there.
Whoa. But that Pitt loss is 2 losses. Okay.
It's bad, but it's still only a loss. It was one slip up. So I don't want to give them a more slack than I think they deserve.
Okay.
Louisville is going to obviously want to lean on their rushing attack and their defense, but Kentucky have only allowed 111 rushing yards per game, number 23 in the nation. Louisville have been haunted by this rivalry lately, as I said. But I think the talent gap and being at home will be the major difference here. Little stat here for you. The average margin of victory of the last 5 games, regardless of who wins, is 30. Give me U of L big here.
Okay. He took my 7 points and he ran that stuff out the balcony. Okay. He ran with that and go. I also want to point out that Ryan Day is wearing the ugliest suit of all time. But we're gonna leave him alone for today. That's coming up later. Don't you worry. I'm just gonna put it out there. There's already somebody loaded up, ready to go. I already told you, be prepared. He's on his way soon. Go ahead. We ready for it? Our next big one?
Next big one. Honestly, one of not, you don't have your Iron Bowl, you don't have the game here, but it's still a really, really big game. 5-6 Washington State going on the road to number 4 Washington, looking to play spoiler before the Pac-12 championship game. It was originally called the Governor's Trophy, but now it's called the Apple Cup. and it actually ended in a 5-5 tie in their first meeting in 1900. Washington has dominated this rivalry, and all signs really point towards that continuing it. They're at home. Washington State really has been, down this season. But anything else to add there?
Oh, I got a lot to add. 16.5-point favorites, the Huskies come in. Okay. Now, these two teams have signed a 5-year continuation of this rivalry, even though Washington is moving into the Big Ten. That is awesome.
Good.
Okay. This is something that should stay. I want to see all these rivalry games stick around. Yes. I think it's garbage that Oklahoma State and Oklahoma is going away.
Oregon State.
Oregon State. I want to see these teams play. I love rivalry week. We absolutely need that. Michael Penix Jr., he kind of needs this game to kind of get himself back refreshed in the Heisman race and the Heisman voters. Somehow we forgot about, probably who you could argue is the most talented, just pure quarterback in this draft or in the country. Hey, the normal 45 a game, offense that Washington State kind of brings in here. Unfortunately, since the untimely passing of head coach Mike Leach, that kind of has been gone. They've showed some flashes of it. 38 over a ranked Oregon State team. They kept up with 24 against Oregon. Like we said, Oregon beats up everybody right now. They put 56 on my beloved Colorado. He was waiting for that one. Okay. On my beloved Coach Prime in Colorado. So up and down for Washington. They also lost to Stanford 10-7 this year. So like we said, completely roller coaster for this Washington State offense. But Washington has had some issues in this year, okay? There shouldn't be an issue here, okay? And Michael Penix should be able to run and throw for 250 plus. But we saw it with the Arizona State game. We saw some other games. Washington can get tripped up. You can go into Washington and you can make a statement here, all right? The Apple Cup, you can make a state here, Washington State. But I don't think they will. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, I like the 16.5, the 66.5 over. I mean, it's a Pac-12 game, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I know we just told you there was a game that ended 10-7, but that was Washington State and Stanford. This is a normal Pac-12 game. Give me that over, okay? But I don't think it's Michael Penix that wins this game for Washington. My guy, Dylan Johnson, 120 plus and a touchdown. Put that in your parlay. I think that is the reason that Washington gets it done against Washington State today.
I like it. Yeah, listen, Washington State, before that win against Colorado, 6 straight losses. Washington been in some close games lately. Will that continue? I don't think so. I think Washington puts it on at home, capping off the season right before their conference championship against Oregon. I like Washington big.
Now, let's roll to the next one in a game that I'm going to put up because I wish it was bigger, okay? Because it's the Iron Bowl. Number 8, Alabama travels to Auburn, a 6-5 Auburn team coming off a loss to the Straub Bro Family of the Week team last week. That would be New Mexico State. This should be better. Okay, this should be bigger. Yeah. But, man, don't nobody want to play Alabama right now. No. Okay? Crimson Tide opened as 13.5-point favorites, and that's being nice. That is strictly an Iron Bowl a love to Auburn because at this point, why shouldn't Alabama be favored by 20 plus? Jalen Monroe comes in as the guy the Heisman doesn't have enough days for because if he did, he'd be getting himself higher and higher. He's shooting up the rankings right now, but he's been playing outstanding. 31 total touchdowns this year. Like we said, this is the 88th running of the Iron Bowl. Bama leads 49, 37, and 1. I know all these ties, all these weird ties. I know we don't do that in college anymore, but they're there. 3 in a row for Alabama, which makes this scarier and scarier and scarier. Talk to me.
Yeah, listen, I would love to see a Tiger upset. Auburn always gets up for this game, so the crowd is going to be insane when the game starts. I just think Alabama has too much of a gap here. Just to give you some stats here, the last time an unranked Auburn beat a ranked Alabama was in 2002, 5 years before Nick Saban even got there. So it's one of those games where it's always going to be anticipated. It's always going to be exciting, but I don't think this one is going to be as close as the previous years have been.
Alabama by 100. No. Dude, why are we playing with Nick Saban? Why are we playing with Nick Saban? Nick Saban does this every year.
Yeah.
Okay? Nick Saban does this every year. Stop playing with that man. Stop playing with that man. Okay? He's chewing cigars on the sidelines after games. Okay? He's laughing and having fun. And now he's laughing and having fun in a Nick Saban way, which means he's losing his mind on the sideline and screaming at people. That is the scariest thing in college football. Okay? That is the scariest thing in college football. Okay? The only other thing scarier than that is Brian Kelly having to go for 2. Cheap shot, Ken. That is just
every week.
Absolutely no need for that. It's unacceptable. But I will say this: the over of 47.5.
No,
no, you don't like it?
It's tough. Bama could put 50 on themselves, or Auburn could show up and maybe not make it close, but make it a very low scoring, really drag it out. So it's tough to call.
That would be the way that Auburn can win this game. You're not shooting out with Alabama. They beat LSU in the same. I know there was an injury to Jane Daniels that very much helped Alabama kind of take control of that game, but you don't want to get into a shootout with Alabama, man. That's not the smoke that you want.
No.
You got to make this a tough physical game, and I think that would be the only way that Auburn could win this game. It is the Iron Bowl, so 13.5, I do like that. I do. I like Alabama by 2 touchdowns. The 47.5, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Roll, Tide, roll. I don't think there's a chance. What about you?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think this is too lopsided to really give Auburn a shot. I wish, I hope, I plead Alabama the spread.
I agree with you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to talk about the most important game, not only of the day, but right now, the most important game of the season. Okay. Now, before we do that, I'm going to throw a couple betting odds up on you. Okay. Because the Iron Bowl was 47.5. The game that we are about to talk about, 46.5. And that Georgia Tech, 59.5. Those are the overs that I really, really like. And there are your teams this week in terms of if you want to throw some spreads in there. You got LSU by 13.5. Alabama, which I couldn't spell apparently today, 13.5. Tennessee, that big 27.5. I know it's big, but I like Tennessee over Vandy big there. Washington, we talked about. Kansas State, we did mention at the beginning of the program. I do like Kansas State here big. And there we do have some upsets I want to throw out. You talked about my Coach Prime. Okay, don't you talk about my Coach Prime. Plus 980, 20.5 is the spread for that Colorado game. Yeah, I know. There it is. OSU, they are technically underdogs in this Michigan game. So plus 138, plus 3.5. You see NC State underdogs against North Carolina, even though they're ranked. I like Indiana this week with some plus 162 love. I like Pitt this week with some plus 162 and the plus 5.5. Virginia over Virginia Tech. Yeah, me and Stanford Steve are alike on this one. Plus 112, plus 2.5. Wake Forest getting that post Notre Dame rub. Okay, that usually is a good rub.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 108, plus 105 there. And the Florida Gators, I already told you, chomp, chomp, baby. 195 over that. Now, we have two. Actually, we're going to put that in the picks. We'll let them go wild on that one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for that. It is time for Ohio State, Michigan. And we can't do this by ourselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage from 4th and 15 himself, Mr. Mel of Mel and Smooth. Mel, welcome into the Straub Sports Show College Pregame Live. We are so glad to have you to talk about not just this game. We're going to run through some picks with Mel as well. But Mel, first things first, the game. Ohio State, Michigan, Bo versus Woody, Des versus Herb Street, Urban versus the entire state of Michigan, Charles Woodson versus the whole Ohio State offense. Talk to me about this game.
Well, first off, it's glad to be here with you guys. Let's first off, let's start here. This is the 13th time these two teams have played ranked. They're 7-5-1 with an OSU lead. All right, let's start there. The second thing you need to know about this is the last 4 games Ohio State has played, they've averaged almost 500 yards rushing. You need to pay attention to that because
Yeah.
if it gets into a ground game, my money is on Ohio State. Michigan hasn't had a running back as good as Tim Bianca Batuka in a long time, or Anthony Thomas, dare I say, maybe even Mike Hart. So they haven't had good running backs since then. Secondly,
Blake Corum
Kyle
and his
McCord
Michigan versus
averages,
everybody hat would disagree with you.
you fired. I don't even know who that is, but you fired. But let me get back to that. Kyle McCord has been averaging 10.3 passing yards and 4 interceptions away from the shoe. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this number will be important come down the stretch. Now, you know, the last 4 times Ohio State has played Michigan, they've lost one in away from the shoe, and they've lost one in the big house, being 2 years ago. So you got to pay attention to these things. I don't think he'll have that problem today. Now that we have a running game to speak of, and we haven't had one for middle of the season, but this is important. But I don't think Kyle McCord is going to be shaken by this. Thirdly,
Okay. Oh.
there's a guy, there's a guy who I like to call the X factor in this scenario. He's got 17 third down receptions for 203 yards and 6 TDs on third down. If you don't know who that is, folks, that's Marvin Harrison Jr. And the reason I'm
Junior,
saying that
junior.
right now, Jr., because that's clutch. If you can convert on third down against Michigan, you have a chance. You saw it in the Penn State game. You saw it more in the Maryland game when Maryland actually was able to put together drives and put points on the board. They were actually
Mhm.
converting on third down. And who's the most clutch person in the Big Ten? Marvin Harrison, third down. If yes, I forget his name off the top of my head. The DB from Michigan will probably be on him all day.
Yeah.
But with route running like that, it's going to cause a problem at some point. There's a reason he's in the front in my book. This is just me, but there's a reason he's in the front running for the Heisman. And that reason is this man is clutch. And I honestly believe if he has a 2 touchdown day today, the Heisman's his.
Ooh, big
Ooh.
words.
Fourth,
Bold
Big
predictions here on the Stop
words.
College
yeah,
Sports Show. I like it. And you see, we
very big,
outsource our
very big.
like it. We outsource our Marvin Harrison Jr. love. You know, if you tune into this show, how much I love this guy. I've already stated in my fantasy drafts that I'm drafting him and I'm keeping him, even though he's not even an NFL player yet. Okay. This dude is a monster. I don't necessarily agree with Mel that he's the front runner, but I will say this. There isn't a person on this stream right now that doesn't believe he won't be in the room come Heisman Trophy ceremony time. He absolutely is getting a chair there. He absolutely deserves it. Like that is
Yeah,
beyond question.
absolutely.
I do want to bring up something that
Absolutely.
Mel said, though. This running attack of Ohio State. I'm going to tell you now, Buckeye fans, you want to win this game, Travion Henderson has to come through for you. And if he continues to play the way that he has played the past 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to beat Michigan. I'm not saying that's my pick right now,
Now
but
keep him.
you are going to beat Michigan if Travion Henderson continues to run the ball the way that he has been running the ball. Blake Corum of Michigan, too. I want
I
to give him
want
some love. This is a good running back matchup. Go ahead, Mel.
I want to point this out because yes, Blake Corum he's been great this year, but there have been spots where he has not come through.
Yes.
I mean, let's look at the Penn State game again. Penn State's defense is just as I'm not going to say it's just as good as Ohio State's, but it's just as athletic. I think that is going to play a big part in today's game. And Travion Henderson, if anybody's really been paying attention, Travion Henderson has been running a lot better coming off
Oh,
the
yeah.
injury.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Coming back from injury, he has been running like a madman who has been possessed by Jason Voorhees. So don't be surprised if the Buckeyes can get out big. They're going to rely heavy on Henderson pounding the Michigan defense. Also,
Absolutely
I
true.
want to throw
Go,
this out there too. I want to
go
because
ahead.
these last two, actually, these last four or 1, 2, 3, yeah, these last four are important to the game. 8 opponents have been held to less than 4 yards of carry against OSU in the last 8 games. Actually, what was it? Yeah, 8 opponents this season. So my bad. So 8 opponents this season have been held to less than 4 yards of carry. This defense is not just the X factor, they are the deciding factor. If Blake Corum doesn't get 100 yards, I'm going to treat this like I treat the games against Derrick Henry. What happens when you stop Derrick Henry and hold him to under 150 yards?
You
They
win.
lose. Yeah, the
You win,
Titans
they
lose if
lose.
Derrick Henry don't hit 150. Yeah, so keep that in mind for folks watching. Also, the OSU defense has also allowed 8 points per game in the last 6 games. You got to pay attention to that because this Jim Knowles defense is for real. You see my daughter just waking up.
Good morning. Welcome in.
But yeah, uh, uh, moving along, 4 times in the last 53 years since 1970, the Buckeyes and that school up north have met unranked and untied. This is the first time it'll be back-to-back years.
I mean,
I
Also,
like it.
this is what you want for OSU Michigan.
Yes.
This is what you want. Drew, I want you to jump in.
Yes, and I think both teams have their advantages here. Michigan being at home, having 2 straight wins, looking for 3, having the momentum. But without Harbaugh, Michigan has not looked nearly as dominant as they have had since those previous games. And this Ohio State team, I feel, is the most motivated they've been in the past 3 games that they have played against Michigan, because the past 2 times it felt like they were going to come in, do what they always do, and beat Michigan. And Michigan punched them in the mouth and really beat them up. Now I think Ryan Day has his team finally motivated enough to really take this rivalry to the next level and get them going.
You could say it's some kind of Ohio versus everyone.
hey, keep this in mind too. This is the 26th meeting where both teams have been ranked in the top 10. Hey, Bunchy, how you doing? Both teams have been ranked in the top 10. This is the 26th time. And guess who leads? Who takes a 12, 11, and 2 lead? It's the Buckeyes.
Okay.
So the last few times that they've met, Ohio State has dog walked Michigan when they have been ranked. Last year was different, but this year I got a feeling it's going to change.
I also want to point out OSU has yet to give up more than 17 points in a game this year. Okay. Now, Michigan, 23 straight against Big Ten opponents. Obviously, we've been talking about it. 2 in a row against Ohio State. So what you're dealing with is a Michigan team that is rolling and an Ohio State team that has been pretty dominant, let's be honest. Okay, I know there's been some first half slip-ups, but Ohio State, for the most part, has been dominant this year. And so is Michigan. This is what we want out of this game. 11-0s, number 2, number 3 rankings, college football playoff on the line. This is what we want from Ohio State, Michigan. This is what we want from the best rivalry in college. This is everything. We absolutely love this.
Ken, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a stat I was going to throw out. It's been 16 years in which a OSU defense has not allowed a 20-point scoring game in the first 10 games of the season.
Nothing but heavy-hitting stats here on the Straub Bro Sports Show. It doesn't matter who we bring in.
So heading into this game,
Mama says we got this. Mama says OSU got this.
I'm with Mama. And if anybody don't like it, I'm going up to Pops's comment. Get off my lawn.
I absolutely love it. I also, and I said it before, I kind of like this over. It's 46.5. These games are no longer 10-7, 14-10 games. Okay, both these teams can score. Both these teams can run it up. I like a 25. I like a 28. I like a 28-31 game. So I really, really like this 46.5. Mel, while we got you here, want to run through some game picks with us?
Let's do it, baby.
Okay.
Let's do it.
The first one I'm going to give you the spotlight on, and that would be Southern and Grambling. You wanted to talk about it.
Oh, boy.
And I want you to have the floor on it, sir.
Yeah, okay. So for those of y'all that don't know, this is one of the longest running black college rivalries in America and in all of college football. I started watching this game because of my grandparents. The day after Thanksgiving, the weekend after Thanksgiving, we'd all sit around the TV, whether it be my grandfather's house or my grandmother's house, and we would actually watch this game. Not just because it was the Battle of the Bands, but it was because Eddie Robinson, arguably, you can argue with your mama all you want. You're not gonna argue with me, but arguably one of the greatest college football coaches, actually one of the greatest coaches ever. You know, he was involved in this game. Ace Mumford, Bruce Eugene, coach, shout out to coach Doug Williams. You know, this game is historic. They skip whether the these are, if throw the records out the window was a person, it'd be these two teams. These two teams skip the FCS playoffs just to play this game. And the winner gets ready for the Black College National Championship. So imagine saying, "Oh man, we got a shot to make the playoff." Nah, screw that. We playing Southern this weekend. Imagine that. Imagine that. Both teams come in 5-5. It's Hughes' second year at the helm, and they've looked a lot better at times. It's still a rivalry game. Southern took the last one last year, but normally I don't go with a G. But shout out to Glenville winning last night and making it to the state championship, so they got a chance to defend their title. And I'm going with the G today. Give me Grambling all day, baby.
Sweep across the board. I'm going with Grambling. So is Drew. Listen, when you have that as a preview, there's nothing left for me to say. There's nothing left for Drew to say. I will say this. It's a game that I have also grown up watching. It's always on TV. It's always on television. It is an amazing game to watch. And yes, you stick around for the halftime show. And if you don't, you're crazy. Okay? All right? Flat out. Period.
Shout out to NBC.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. Let's roll through some other game picks. Okay. Here we go. Let's run through the slate, guys. I'm going to put Drew up first, and then we'll throw him to Mel in these terms of picks. I'll go last. Our first one, Iowa State at Kansas State. Drew, who you got?
Yeah, listen, I think Kansas State's defense is far too tough and far too just menacing to really, for Iowa State to really get anything going. I like Kansas State. Give me Kansas State.
I already told you I liked Kansas State, and I like that over as well. Mel, how do you feel about this game?
All right. Iowa and Kansas State. Kansas State let me down so much this year. I was expecting Kansas State to take the Big 12. Honestly, I had them picked to win the Big 12. Get through Oklahoma, get through Texas. Who else you got to worry about at that point? No disrespect to you, Drew, but since he's not there yet, it's not the Luke Fickell show anymore. So it's a rebuilding year for them. BYU, I'm not gonna say BYU's ready, but let's be realistic. Ain't been really a national contender since Steve Young left. That was in 84, 85. So I'm not really sold on BYU just yet. But if Kansas State can pull their heads out of their rectums and focus on a New Year's Six bowl game, or just a bowl game close to New Year's, anything after Christmas is great. But I really think they got a shot at a New Year's Six. So give me Kansas State, because if they can stop messing around, I think they end this game early.
I like that. Liberty at UTEP. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Liberty. Give me Liberty.
I think it's been pretty straightforward. Liberty, that rushing attack, I think is going to run all over UTEP. Just give me Liberty.
Liberty bibbity for me.
Give me Liberty or give me death. All right, let's keep it rolling. BYU at Oklahoma State. I don't think there's any way BYU comes out of here with the win. Give me Ollie Gordon. Give me Oklahoma State.
Yeah, listen, BYU has done crazier things this season. They've made really close games. They've beaten some opponents we didn't think they were going to beat. But Oklahoma State, I think, maybe had a big letdown earlier a couple weeks ago, but I like them to stable the ship rest of the season, get Ollie Gordon going, get that rushing attack. Give me Oklahoma State.
Mel?
I'm with you guys. Oklahoma State gets ready for a New Year's Bowl. There's no question that this game is going to be a wash. It's a rough introduction to the Big 12 for BYU, but
I feel
this will help with recruiting, because now you know what you got to do.
Somebody knows about those rough Big 12 first seasons. Speaking of games that should be watched, Vandy at Tennessee. I already told you I like that 20-something point cover. I think it was 27.5 by Tennessee. I don't think Vandy has a chance.
No, I wish they did. I wish this was going to be a good game. Vandy just doesn't have any sort of spark this year. There are years where they look kind of good and they have the upset maybe, but this year they just look super flat. They look out of it. Give me Tennessee big.
Absolutely, Mel.
I was listening to you guys earlier, and I heard Drew call the Vanderbilt the Commanders. It's Commodore, but you had it right
Commodores,
for
you
this
are right.
particular game.
You are right.
They are going to be
I apologize.
no. I'm gonna let you have this one because you are absolutely right. They are the Commanders because they're gonna command getting beat on. This is not a game for them. They have not been good. They have not been good since Jay Cutler left. Let's look at the reality. Everybody talks about the SEC being this pro style team conference. Everybody's ready to go pro. Look at the bottom of the barrel compared to the Big Ten. Half of the Big Ten will be in a bowl game. You'll probably see them play against Vanderbilt in some way, shape, or form. Give me Tennessee.
Love it. Let's move on to some rivalry games. Arizona at Arizona State. I've already told you I love this Wildcats team. I love them next year, coming into next year. Wildcats big over Arizona State.
Yeah, listen, if Arizona State didn't have as many injuries as they had, I would give this one a close one, and I'd give them maybe the benefit of the doubt at being at home. But they've had such a big letdown year with the injuries and just underperforming people. And Arizona literally was the exact opposite. And so give me Arizona.
Mel.
Noah Fafita has been on fire despite everything that he's gone through in the Pac-12 as far as facing those defenses in Utah, USC, UCLA, Oregon. He's held his own. On top of this, anybody else besides me noticed that the change in Arizona State has been kind of radical since they got rid of Herm Edwards?
Yeah.
I like Noah Fafita in this one. Give me the Wildcats big.
I like it. Noah Fafita, potential Straub bro of the week next week. I'm just, teaser. Yeah, letting you know.
Nice.
North Carolina at North Carolina State, another in-state rivalry game. Like I said, UNC ready for basketball. NC State still playing football. I like the Wolfpack. I like NC State here.
Don't want to quote because I don't want to get, copyrighted by this. All I'm going to say is I disagree.
Not so fast, my friend.
North Carolina still has a very high-powered offense. And in these games where it's high-powered offense versus strong defense, a lot of the times the offense comes through and wins it. I think North Carolina still has a little bit left in the tank for this rivalry. They're getting up for this one. Give me North Carolina.
Ooh, break the tie, Mel.
From 1995 to 1998, there was a receiver who was part of the greatest show on turf, and this man shredded the Carolina defense. You might know him. His name is Torrey Holt. I expect, because this is a rivalry game and this is bragging rights for all of North Carolina, I got NC State in a surprise upset. That's my first one because I got a couple more. But NC State gives Torrey Holt something to smoke a cigar on. NC State over NC.
I love it. My game, I'm up. Notre Dame at Stanford. Irish big, Irish cover, Irish over. Play like a champion today. Let's go.
Yeah, listen, Notre Dame, I think, had some struggles early on, but really has come into their own form, really got the offense going. Maybe a little too late for the playoffs, but still look really determined to keep playing. Stanford has had some close games, but they really have kind of looked out of these past couple weeks. Give me Notre Dame big.
Hey, look, man. Andrew Luck going to end up having a heart attack because it's not happening today.
Christian McCaffrey.
I got the Irish and I got the Irish big.
Love it.
I don't think McCaffrey cares too much, but it's okay.
The Battle of South Carolina, Clemson at South Carolina. I like the Gamecocks in an upset here, Drew.
Yeah, even during this podcast, I've been going back and forth. However, I'm sticking to what I originally put down yesterday in my notes as a gut feeling. Give me Clemson. I think the defense is going to stifle South Carolina's offense all day, and I think the offense has finally come through in a big way. Give me Clemson.
Mel.
I'm torn because this is normally not a rivalry game I care about, but because there are so many Clemson products in the NFL, I gotta pay attention to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Clowney's down with who is Clowney with now? Clowney's with Baltimore now. ETN and Trevor Lawrence are down in Jacksonville. Don't ask me how he swung that, but that was a great move by Trevor Lawrence to tell them to get ETN as well.
Yeah.
So honestly, the way Clemson's been playing the last 7 to 8 years, I don't doubt that they're going to run the table and finish out the season strong. So I got to go with Clemson.
I like it. Texas A&M at LSU. LSU big. Jaden Daniels big Heisman performance today. I like a 4 or 5 touchdown altogether performance. What you got?
Yeah, I think this being Jaden Daniels' last chance to really prove, one, his draft stock, but two, the Heisman odds here. I think he really tries to show out, and I think Brian Kelly just keeps the foot on the gas for this rivalry. I know he's not great in rivalries, and I know you don't like him too much.
I've got no Brian Kelly hate on this,
but
this part.
I think he pushes the gas pedal, and I think he lets Jaden Daniels loose. He goes insane. Stupid numbers. Give me LSU.
Mel.
All right. First question. When did this become a rivalry? When? How? Who decided this was a rivalry? Anyway, let's look at the facts here. Both teams are coming in with a winning record. Texas A&M is coming 3 games over 500 or 5 games over 500, and LSU has been on a tear. They've only lost 3 games, and those 3 games were big. Here's the part that scares me if you're LSU or you are LSU fan. Texas A&M has been known to pull off the weirdest upset at the right time.
Yeah.
You saw it with Prescott. You saw it with Myles Garrett. You saw it with Manziel. I think the trend stays today, and if they don't keep it close, I think if they can keep it close, I think Texas A&M pulls off the upset and Jaden Daniels loses a spot in the Heisman room.
Wow.
So give me Texas A&M on the surprise upset.
Okay. I like it. It's hot.
Big stuff.
It's
That's hot, and I like it. Just for the record, they've played this game, what was it,
62 times?
62 times. I agree with Mel, though. When the hell did it become a rivalry? Like, right, what? Is it just because they play in the SEC?
I'm
so
confused.
They have to play every week? And so they have to play every year? Is that how that works? So now it's a rivalry game?
They don't play at the end of the year very often, so I think we don't consider a rivalry, but they play pretty much every year, and I think that's why we don't think
you're right.
I like that.
I'm befuddled on that game.
Yeah, same though. I'm confused. All right, our in-state Georgia rivalry, Georgia at Georgia Tech. Now, listen, this dude, if you were listening earlier, gave the most fired up pregame speech that Georgia Tech should be running back in their locker room right now because this man's got them ready to go. But I don't think there's a chance in hell. Okay, I'm getting my Vince McMahon on there. Give me Georgia. Give me Georgia by 100. Give me Georgia by 1,000,000. Bulldogs, RRRRR, all that stuff.
Give me Georgia.
Exactly. Get out of here. Mel, what you got?
Okay, first off, I got to give a shout out to the man that gave me my start in indoor football, Coach Derek Shepard. Shout out to you, good sir. His son is actually down at Cincinnati right now, Derek Shepard Jr., running amok in the Big 12. But because he was a yellow jacket. So, I got to shout him out because I saw his post earlier. I saw his post all week. He's been burning Georgia stuff. He's been stepping on little dogs. Peter, that's a joke. He's not been stepping on dogs. He's been stepping on the stuffed animals he bought at the store that look like dogs. Okay, anyway.
No real dogs were hurt in the process of recording and telling these jokes.
I love Georgia Tech, and here's the crazy part. Real quick, Georgia Tech has had a knack for picking up defensive linemen. Coach Shepard, if you think about it, go back to the WWE days. Roman Reigns, former defensive tackle. Unfortunately, that's only one position on the field, and Georgia has like 700 of them and 700 replacements. Go Georgia.
Absolutely. Bulldog. Shout out to Ronnie. Shout out to Smooth of Melon Smooth. He's the Bulldogs guy. He's absolutely
man. Forget him. He's been rubbing it in since last year. Forget him.
I know, and I'm out here. I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of the group chat talk in here. I told Smooth flat out, you won 2 national championships in a row. I don't want to hear nothing else about none of your other teams for a while. Okay, you got 2 in a row. You go live with that. You got a chance for 3. All right, let's keep it rolling. Another big rivalry game. Kentucky at Louisville. I like Louisville here, and I like Louisville with the 7. What do you got, Drew?
Yeah. Listen, like I said before, Louisville, this game is a blowout
Mama laughing at us. She
in
know
the
we got
past
jokes.
5 games. It either goes Kentucky's way by a lot or it goes Louisville's way by a lot. I think it's just how it works out, but I think it's the same exact way. I like Louisville by a lot. That rushing game is going to completely decimate Kentucky.
What you got, Mel?
I got good news and bad news for the entire state of Kentucky. The good news is this is going to be an entertaining game. The bad news is it's Lexington versus Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I saying this? Well, here's the problem. It's basketball season, and yet we're here talking about football in Kentucky. This is going to turn out to be one of those ugly games for Louisville. Why? Because it's a rivalry game. They don't like us, we don't like them. Kentucky, if they keep this close, it's gonna look bad for Louisville in the ACC championship. The reason I'm saying that is because if you're a Louisville fan, you're looking at this game as a tune-up game. If you're a Kentucky fan, you're looking at this game as we got to beat them. Kentucky's going to come in with their hair on fire. This game is going to be close, but give me Louisville.
All right. I like it. I like it.
I do too. I'm big on that. All right. And the game that is even bigger now and has real implications going. Florida State travels to the swamp to Florida. I already said it. I've been a big fan of Florida State this year. Shout out to my guy, Al Miller. I went to college with him. He was a hooper there. Big Florida State guy. Goes to games all the time. I'm sorry, Al. Gator chomping. I like Florida with the upset. Yes.
Wow. Now listen, this Florida State, just the way the season has played out for them, I think really reminisces me of the 2015 Ohio State Buckeyes. They're cruising. Maybe not the loss of Virginia Tech, but everything else. They look really good. They're cruising. And then one key injury looks to derail their whole season. But the backup quarterback, actually in Ohio State's the third string quarterback, steps up and leads this team to a national championship. Am I calling them a national championship team? No. But am I calling them a college football playoff team? Yes. Give me Florida State over Florida. The backup quarterback is going to go off and completely handle Florida on the way to the ACC championship for a college football playoff bid against Louisville.
I like it. I like it. I said I picked Florida, but I like it. Mel, what you got?
All right, I got some more good news and bad news for the state of Florida. Here's the good news. The good news is if you lose this game, it will not affect your role in the ACC championship. The bad news is if you lose this game, you have literally lost all bragging rights for the state of Florida. Yes, you did beat Miami, but you didn't complete the job because you didn't beat the Gators. And honestly, I'm not too sure about this backup quarterback situation, which leaves me in limbo. So I'm gonna go Gators with the surprise upset because of the quarterback situation in Florida State.
I love
Fair
it.
enough.
I love it.
Fair enough.
2-2 for the Gators. All right. Our next one, another big one. Washington State at Washington. I told you the key here is not Michael Penix Jr. I think for me, the game is Dylan Johnson. I think Dylan Johnson has a big game, and I think Washington takes care of business and looks at Oregon and says, come on down.
Yeah. Listen, the only way I think Washington State win is if Michael Penix tries to do too much to prove maybe a Heisman case and then he makes some mistakes. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think he's going to play smart football. I think Washington itself is going to play smart football. I think that defense is finally starting to come into its own and play a lot better. Washington State, unfortunately, looking just really just bare bones at the moment. Give me Washington.
Absolutely. Mel, what you got for us?
I watched while we were down in Columbus doing the youth regional championships. I watched that Washington game against Oregon State, ugly in the rain, and Michael Penix Jr. looked like he could do no wrong. That is the same thing here. This is Wazoo. I'm not sold. I ain't been sold since Drew Bledsoe left. Let's look at the reality here. Michael Penix Jr. is that guy. He will be in the Heisman room next month, and he etches his name in stone in Washington lore. He's the second coming. I'm not going to compare him and say he's there, but there are a lot of traits that Warren Moon had that he has, and I can see them.
I
They
really
win
like that.
big.
I
They
like
move
that.
on
I
to
do.
they move on to the Ducks. They move on to the Ducks for the rematch, and it's a done deal.
How
Give me your Huskies.
I know we're not there yet, but how awesome is that rematch going to be?
Oh, yeah.
How awesome is Oregon Washington 2 going to be? It is going to be amazing. Okay. Our second biggest game of the day, the Iron Bowl. Alabama at Auburn. I know Auburn's at home. I know Alabama's won 3 in a row. I know Auburn's coming off a horrible loss. All of the makings for an upset are right there. All the ingredients are right there. All somebody has to do is put them in the pan, mix in some seasoning, and put them in the oven, except Auburn doesn't have a kitchen. Give me Alabama big. Roll Tide.
Yeah, listen, these games are always fun, and it will be on the television just to watch probably the first quarter when Auburn's fans actually have something to cheer for. But I think it might switch off after that because I think Bama's going to get up big and please silence that crowd. Give me Bama big, and they're just going to keep rolling to a rematch with Georgia.
Let's go. I like it. Mel, Iron Bowl prediction.
Let me throw something out to y'all. I have always said this. I stick with it, even in high school. I strongly am a advocate for rivalry games, like traditionally true rivalry games, being played at the end of the season. This is one of those games. Throw the records out the window. It's Auburn and it's Bama. If Bo Jackson was here, I would give, like, if Bo Jackson was in uniform, I would give the edge to Auburn. But
Mhm.
because Nick Saban's sitting on the sideline, it scares the living hell out of me. So what
Mm.
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it to Bama. But there is a but. Once again, if Auburn can keep this close, get a couple stops, get a couple turnovers, don't be surprised if this rivalry game turns into a we're talking about a two-loss Bama trying to get into the playoff.
That
Give me
would be
Bama,
that
but if it's close, I'm going with Auburn.
I like it.
I
I like the
like it.
hedge
I
on the end of there.
like it.
Well, that's what exactly what we said. If you're gonna win this game, Auburn Tigers, you need to run the ball, you need to keep it close, and you need some turnovers. You need a pick six, you need a kick return for a touchdown, you need a special play mixed in there if you are going to take out Alabama. So I agree, but I just don't think they will. Okay, here it is. This is it. The game
Anything's
of the week.
possible.
Absolutely. The game of the week, the game of the year, the game of the day, the game of the life. Here it is. Ohio State and Michigan. Number 2 versus number 3. A shot at the Big Ten title, a shot at the college football playoffs. Everything is on the line today. Now, I have yet to make a pick, and I am not going to make one quite yet. Drew, what you got for Ohio State, Michigan?
Other than this Clemson South Carolina game, I think this is the only other game I really had trouble with picking. Michigan, absolute domination in the start of the season. Then you get all of this controversy that apparently doesn't seem to affect them off the bat. Nothing is stopping them. They are running through. And then Harbaugh gets suspended. And it looks like this team just is not the same team without Harbaugh. Ohio State. Really interesting start of the season. Getting wins, but getting them unconvincingly, especially in their offense. But as of late, has really, really come into their own. And I think that defense
That
keeps
was my
up with
bad.
it.
That's okay.
If I'm looking at it, Michigan's at home. Ohio State has all the motivation. Give me Ohio State.
Mel.
Man, you had me nervous there. But first off, both of you is fired. You know why you fired? Because y'all took down the Michigan sign that I had, and y'all been using that daggone word the whole time. I don't play that. I don't play that. Right. Now that my rant's over, I'm gonna do this. There have been years where, as a kid or as a Buckeye fan, I have seen the best Ohio State teams. Shout out to Coach George. Shout out to D. Miller. Shout out to Stanley Jackson. Shout out to Andy Katzenmoyer. We've had the best teams in the country, and they have screwed it up on the coaching side. 1 year, we have Stanley Jackson lighting it up. He puts in Joe Germain. We've had Eddie George running amok. We can't stop the run. We can't stop Tim Bianca Batuka. 91, we have Cleveland's own Desmond Howard running down the sideline. He wins the Heisman. 1996, 6 years later. No, 97, 6 years later. Charles Woodson runs down the exact same punt return down the exact same sideline. He wins the Heisman. That don't happen today, baby. I'm throwing my notebook. Give me Buckeyes all day, baby. Matter of fact, here it is, right here. I even got my shirt ready. Oh, wait.
I absolutely love this. And now I get to be that guy. You know this game. They've both said it. Woody and Bo, Marvin Harrison Jr., Zeke Elliott, Desmond Howard, all of these. You know the big time. Okay. Michigan comes in winning 2 in a row. Okay. For Ohio State fans, that has been the only thing that they have been talking about. Okay. They don't even care so much about a national championship this year if it don't come with that win to Michigan. Okay. It doesn't matter. All things are sweeter in Ohio when Michigan loses to Ohio State. Okay. Yep. I know, Mom. You do. You agree
Absolutely.
too. You're all on the Buckeyes. I 100% understand it. No chance. Michigan is rolling. Michigan has their backs against the wall. Michigan is Michigan versus everybody. Harbaugh will be 10 minutes away celebrating. And I think late in the third, early in the fourth, the champagne gets corked. Michigan runs. What? No way. Ohio State, big. Ohio State wins this game. Ohio State cements themselves in the college. I know, I got you all going. I think Ohio State cements themselves in the college football playoffs. I think Michigan is playing bad at the wrong time. I think if Michigan was still hot, I'd be riding the Wolverines all the way through. But I think Ohio State is hot at the right time. I think Ohio State is pissed off. And for once, Ryan Day, you get to do the Ohio versus everybody speech because today it bleeping matters, because for 2 straight years, Michigan has punched you in the mouth and Michigan has made you their little brother and made you the Big Ten sacrifice as they've been going to the college football playoffs. And that ends today. Go get them, Buckeyes. Marvin Harrison Jr. with a touchdown, but I think Travion Henderson runs wild. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Give me the Buckeyes.
Oh, dang.
I was gonna be honest with you, man. I was gonna fire you for real. You go with Michigan.
That was going to be the end of the Straub
Here-
Sports.
and here-
Literally
It's
live
just
on
me.
air.
It's just me now.
No, I was gonna say it was just gonna be Drew at that point. Well, Mom, I
Yep.
was sorry. I'm apologizing now. I wasn't gonna fire him, but he had me going. But I do want to say this. For those of you guys that are Michigan fans, oh yeah, I forgot. Shout out to Kurt Terry on this one too. I know he gonna be watching. Former Ohio State Buckeye player. Shout out to Ted Jr. Shout out to Pierre Woods, former school up Norfolk. But that's okay. What I do want to say is, I think the chink in the armor of Michigan has been shown, and they showed it because one, if you think sign stealing is not an advantage, you have been smoking something that's been undiscovered. Look at how different this team is without stealing signs. If you don't know what's coming and you don't know how to stop it, it becomes a problem. Penn State, the Penn State game, Michigan did not dominate that Penn State game like they normally would. They struggled. You struggled against Maryland. Maryland is a hooper school. Maryland has not been a football school since Boomer Esiason left. You know how long ago that was? It's been 30 years. It's been 30 years. Maryland is not a football school. Maryland is a basketball school, and you struggled. You struggled for 2.5 quarters until you finally pulled it away. This is going to be that game that shows you if Ohio State wins big, It's going to show you that we were all right, and sign stealing gave them a true advantage. If Ohio State wins this by 3, it's still going to show you the same thing because you're going to see where Michigan struggles. Don't be surprised if Michigan catches a point in the game, first, second, third, fourth quarter, where they struggle. It's going to show you sign stealing was helping. So don't be surprised if the blood in the water is there and Ohio State smells it, and all of a sudden you just seeing it's just gonna be bad if the blood is smelled. Matter of fact, here, this is for Mom. Why are Michigan's pants yellow? Because they piss their pants every time they see Ohio State.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So Ohio State across the board here. Like I said, this is great. This is amazing. I think the only thing, and I know this is an unpopular opinion alert, I think the only thing that could possibly make this rivalry better is if you stop playing it at noon and you put it on prime time. Come on, Big Ten. Come on, Ohio State, Michigan. Flex this thing to the prime time. Let's get this game under the lights where it belongs. I'm just.
I don't even think that would matter. Here's why I don't think that would matter. And this is to the fans watching, or fans of your show, fans of the company. This game literally decides everything.
Everything.
It decides everything in college football. You don't get if you're, for the sake of discussion, go back to the 90s. If you're Florida State, if you're Notre Dame, if you're Miami, you don't get a national championship spot unless one of them loses. That's how big this game is. You could play this game on Sunday. It wouldn't matter.
Oh, and it'd get rated.
This game is going to decide This game is going to decide everything, whether you like it or not. And best rivalry in all the sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, we started the live stream early because we're getting done so we can watch this game. Okay, this is not going to be like how
20
this
minutes.
is not going to be running into it. Okay, we definitely this is prime time viewing here at noon. Andrew, I appreciate you. Mel, we always appreciate you. Thank you so much for jumping in with us today. Boom. Thank you so much for doing some picks with us. And of course, thanks for talking on Ohio State, Michigan. The 216 Sports Network.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The 216 Sports Network, that is where you will find all of us. That's where you will find 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. That's where you will find Jason coming up here soon. That's where you will find Crunch Time with Ken and Mel, also coming soon. That's also where you find the Rulers Minute with Rico McGee. The name is full. The name is changed, so look out for that. And that's where you find the Straub Bro Sports Show. It has been awesome to have this guy next to me and with me. We will do as many of these as we possibly can while he's home on break doing his thing. I'm going to throw up that one last comment. Ohio all the way, baby. That's what Mama says, and that's what we're all rolling with.
I'm with Mom on that.
Absolutely. How you going to go against Mom on that one? Okay. So the Straub Bro Sports Show. We thank you. Please go to the 216 Sports Network. Like, follow, subscribe the Facebook and the YouTube page. We're up over 600 subscribers. Thank you, every single one of you. Keep pressing that button for us. Keep looking out for those lives. Keep watching those shows. Go back to the YouTube page. There's all kinds of great content there. The Youth Football League and the Youth Football games that Mel has. You'll see old episodes of the Straub Bro Sports Show. Go back in and watch some episodes of 4th to 15 with Mel and Smooth as well. Check us out on the 216 Sports Network. We got everything that you need covered, okay? That is Andrew Straub. I am Ken Straub. That is Mel. We are out of here. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to love yours.